The league season is over and it went out with a bang. There was drama, tears, and thankfully we were left with a whole lot of things to discuss and debate, which is what we do best on The Locker Room. Coming up on tonight's show, Inter are back in the Champions League and Stefan de Vrij will be with them. We discuss his inclusion in the Lazio lineup on Sunday. We ask, has the Manchester United dressing room turned on Mourinho? And we pay tribute to a poker of club legends bidding farewell. We welcome in the panel, and just quickly to touch on, because it's news that's just coming through today, but very strong reports from very good sources that Unai Emery is set to be the new man at Arsenal. What do you guys make of this?
Yawn.
I'm happy. No, I'm delighted because we'll always tease Phil Shane, don't we, about Arsenal finishing fourth. Well, here's a guy who at Sevilla finished fifth and higher. Right. So fifth as in sixth, seventh, eighth. Sure. He never won European Champions League, only Europa. So if that's all Arsenal ever do,
he's got all the Europa League experience. He's winning, so Arsenal will be happy about that.
It's uninspiring is what it is. Yeah. He's not a bad manager. I mean, we're being facetious and having a good time with it, but it's not inspiring. When you're exiting an era that's lasted as long as Arsene Wenger, and you're frustrated with just being on the verge of qualifying for the Champions League, and you're getting a manager whose signature was essentially getting to the Europa League, which, by the way, I credit more Monchi's structure and system and the players that they brought in than I do Unai Emery.
Still got to be winning games. I mean, this man is a good coach, Thomas. I mean, he has produced it at Sevilla. He's produced it at PSG.
Has he?
Of course.
What was the ambition of PSG? What was the goal they set out, and where did he won one out of two league titles?
There's only got to be one winner, man. There can only ever be one winner at anything. This guy has been a perennially good coach.
Good.
He's handled players. He's had world-class players. I think it's a good assignment.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to return to it on Friday if it's true, and we'll talk more in depth on it then, because we have so much to get through on tonight's show. Jorge Sampaoli has announced his Argentina squad for Russia, and there is no place for Mauro Icardi, this season's co-capocannoniere. Former Inter and Argentina striker Hernan Crespo told Gazzetta dello Sport today that Sampaoli is making a mistake. Is he right, Thomas?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think he's right in a lot of areas. It clearly is Mr. Messi's team. That's one.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
How can you say it's his team?
Because Sampaoli and Iniesta, as Crespo said, twice.
Crespo.
I think he probably knows
the
the inner workings better than you and I do, but on the surface it looks like, because we all know the contentious relationship between Messi and other players. We also know there's certain players on this team that probably don't deserve to be there at the end of the day.
You don't think Messi chooses the team?
Saying that, well,
I agree with you. I think he does.
Some does. But Icardi goes from leading the league in scoring, best season ever, golden boot, getting his team in the UCL. The next day, he doesn't make the Argentina squad, and they get Agüero and Higuain. Okay, fair enough. More tournament experience. But, you know, this 2014 team, except of Dybala, looks exactly the same.
In building any team, you look at the chemistry of a football side. This man, despite all of the statistics, again, brings to a team that got to the World Cup final the last time. In this man, Icardi, tremendous player. Belgium have just done the same with Nainggolan. There's an element that rubs everybody else the wrong way. They've been strong enough to leave him out, and I applaud it.
We sometimes, the mistake that we make from the outside is that we just assume, is he one of the 23 best players for that nation? And if so, then he has to be in. Yeah. And that's not the consideration of the manager. The manager doesn't think, is he top 23 talent? Yeah. He thinks, does he fit in with the group? That we don't have access to. Now, the crazy thing is, Argentina only scored 19 World Cup qualifying goals. That's the second worst of the 10 teams in CONMEBOL. I have here the list of all of the players for Argentina that scored more than 2 goals in World Cup qualifying that made the final list. I have the entire list right here. Lionel Messi. So you're telling me that Icardi, who scored 29 goals in Serie A, can't improve on that team?
Okay, but here's maybe a slightly different angle, and that, Kay, is that this is a tournament. It's a 7-week tournament. Right. It's not like a league season where you can fall out, you can be a bad character, you can fall out with someone, you go home to the family, you come back the following day, you patch it up. And going back to 86 Mexico, we had 2 weeks in Colorado Springs, and you're with the same guys all day, every day, throughout, evening. And so if anything happens with Icardi or Nainggolan or any of those players, you don't go home and fix it. It brews, and you start picking out camps. And then we had 4 weeks in Mexico. He comes with that. And we had 4 weeks in Mexico City. Now you've got 6, 7 weeks of the same people. You've got to pick the players who can win you a game, but you've also got to pick those on the periphery who can help build a team spirit.
Sure. That's why you've got Aguero, Dybala, Messi, Higuain. It's not as if they've just got bread and butter players. It's the personality. It's sad. We all agree. It's sad because he's a brilliant, talented player.
Sure.
But because of what happened with his marriage, hey, listen, he fell in love. This wasn't a cheating situation. He fell in love, but. You know, the connection.
I understand the code. We all know the code in the locker room, and I get that. But you take Lanzini, a third, number 10, by the way, and you have Messi and Dybala, number 3, and you take 2 true forwards, and you leave Icardi, that's in unbelievable form, that late in the game have the quickness to break teams open.
He has the quickness,
but
he's a penalty box predator, Thomas.
That's okay. He's quick in the penalty box. That's all you need to do. That's what Higuain does as well, and Aguero are very similar there.
Right.
The case for
3 number 10s and only 2 9s.
The strongest case for Icardi, just based on talent and productivity from this past season, is that only 3 players in all of the top European leagues scored more goals than he did. They were Messi, Salah, and Harry Kane. That's it. Those were the 3 strikers in the top 5 European leagues that scored more goals than Icardi.
Admirable hit rate, no doubt. Chemistry, number 1.
All right. Well, there are some notable absences from the Spain squad too. Let's start with Alvaro Morata not making it. Might it have been a different story had he stayed at Real Madrid, Gary?
Yeah, it might have been. To be honest with you, I think he's a big game player, and I would always have him. I'd have him ahead of Rodrigo, who's got similar goals, 16, 37, 1 in every 2.
Would you have him ahead of Rodrigo this season, though?
Yes,
with
because both have scored 1 in 2 games virtually. But Morata has done it at Real Madrid. He's done it at Juventus.
1 in 2 games, though. But Rodrigo's been playing nearly every game, and Morata hasn't.
Yeah, but if he's fit, assuming he's fit, I'd rather take a player who I know has the ability to raise his game than someone like Rodrigo, who's maybe playing at the peak of his game. Morata,
Bellerin and Alonso are bigger missions. Morata, you're right. Okay, he left. He wanted to be a true number 9. He wanted to start all the time. And Isco, Vasquez, and Asensio said, you know what? We'll stay at Real Madrid. We're happy with our position right now. All 3 are in the Spain squad. And Morata flopped at Chelsea. Good decision not to take him.
Whether it's for fair reasons or not, Icardi is a snub. For fair reasons or not, Nainggolan is a snub. They are talented enough to have made the list, even if it didn't work out with the group. Sure. Alvaro Morata is not a snub. He scored 1 Premier League goal in 2018, and he played plenty of games. Chelsea were playing for a cup this past weekend, and Alvaro Morata came on for the final 2 minutes of that game. Right. I don't think he's in any state to make this team, by the way, which looks like the most talented and stacked team at the World Cup.
Nah, next to Brazil. But for me, Sergio Roberto as well.
I want to ask you about this. Is he a victim of his own versatility?
Well, maybe, but versatility can be a good thing in tournament competition. Injuries occur. You can drop him in virtually anywhere on that defensive lineup, other than centrally, of course. But he can play left and right, play in midfield, right across the middle. For me, Sergio Roberto, a big exclusion.
OK, Radja Nainggolan, as we've heard his name mentioned, he's announced his retirement from international football because he wasn't selected for Belgium's 2018 World Cup squad. Now, Roberto Martinez insists it's a tactical decision, but is he just being diplomatic? Because we know the Ninja comes with a lot of baggage, but we're also aware of just what a great season he's had and the part he's played in Roma's success under this.
If Martinez said that this was a tactical decision, he should be fired before the World Cup. Because this is one of the most talented and most productive midfielders on the planet, certainly in Serie A and definitely for Belgium. This can't have anything to do with being a right tactical fit. And it's not a coincidence that Martinez is not the first manager to leave him out of the World Cup squad.
But can you say it, though?
Take him to the 2014 World Cup
But
in
if
Brazil.
you're right, can you, as a manager, say, I'm not leaving him out, or rather, I am leaving him out because he's a pain and he causes trouble. You can't actually say that, even if it's true.
I don't think you gain anything by saying that. So you take the diplomatic approach. You take
exactly. So he's got no choice but to say, I'm leaving him out for football. And when we all know that's not true.
What I said is, if he believes that, then he needs to be removed.
You know, a few things that I picked up on with Juan Carlos Osorio with Mexico in the first day when they got appointed, and Martinez was the following. Martinez said, I only take players in the top 5 leagues. Well, you know, by the way, Carrasco, Witzel, they play in China. By the way, Seaman plays in MLS. That's a defender. And then Chadi started 2 games for West Brom. So, you know what, Mr. Martinez and also Juan Carlos Osorio taking players from MLS right now, which is it. They changed their minds. They are now politically trying to shield themselves. Let's be real honest. Nainggolan only played 6 minutes in qualifying anyway. This was no surprise. Does he deserve to be there? Absolutely. Is he not there because he's a problem?
He must be a problem child. Simple as that. And the coach is trying to put it in words. I mean, he's got Adnan Zanajai playing. I can say his name properly.
He's leading a Manchester United
well, but you can. I mean, I know he's ex-United.
Because since he left Man United,
let's move on then. The Locker Room Awards is back as we pick out and decorate the season's best, and we put the votes out to you, our lovely viewers. So make sure you join us for this one. We'll be getting all dressed up for it again. Follow us on Twitter if you're not doing so already, and vote for your favourites every day. June 4th is when that award show is coming to you. Stick around. When we return, coaches under scrutiny. Should Lazio's Simone Inzaghi have played Stefan de Vrij against the club? The players join in next season. And why is Mourinho under fire? Stick around.
Mourinho.
In one of the best games of the season on beIN Sports, Lazio and Inter battled it out for the last spot in the Champions League next season. Inter came back in this one to take it in dramatic style. And we'll move on to talk about a big decision from one of the coaches. But Andres, you were on the call for this game. It had everything.
This seemed like a scripted game. I mean, this amount of events is not supposed to happen in the course of 90 minutes. Yet the own goal off of Perisic's face to open the scoring. Basically, Inter battled back from a goal down twice. VAR wipes out a penalty that would have given a chance for Inter to level. So then De Vrij, who's headed to Inter, gives them another penalty anyway. And then Senad Lulic, the captain of Lazio, gets himself sent off late. Matias Vecino, who doesn't score any goals, hits the winner virtually at the death. This was absolutely bananas, with a Champions League ticket on the line and anywhere between $15 and $30 million to play for in this game.
So let's get to the big topic then. Stefan de Vrij, the Lazio player who'd already signed for Inter, was put into the starting 11 by Simone Inzaghi. He conceded a penalty, this penalty. Was it wise to start a player who could decide the fate of his next club?
So what are you saying, Kate? Your question is such a... What are you saying? You're saying that absolutely was on the line. In a game of football, you cannot predict the tackle like that.
We were talking about it on Friday.
It's never... I mean, that's no... There's no...
Would you have put him in your team?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Put yourself in Stefan de Vrij's shoes. Firstly, he gives away the penalty that gets him back in the match.
Tough break.
It's a tough break. Now, what if, just say, he had a bad tackle on Icardi, and Icardi's out for a season, and the following day you turn up at Inter. Can you imagine what those ultras would have done to you?
Sure.
It's just too risky. Why play him? Leave him out. He's signed for another club. His heart's not with him.
Risk is good.
I think most managers would start him because most managers are selfish and they want to win that game.
That's right.
He's their best defender, and he's headed to Inter. That's whatever.
Maybe he should have pulled a hamstring.
The problem was it put him in a bad spot. I don't think Simone Inzaghi can take that into consideration whether it puts De Vrij in a bad spot, because if he's brilliant and he keeps Inter out, then the team he's going to hate him.
Hates him.
If he's awful, he puts Inter in.
Get your hamstring pulled.
You would have played him, Thomas, right?
He was forced into this tackle because 2 of his teammates, by the way, Bastos and don't stay with runners.
Yeah.
He comes over now. If he lets him go, people are going to go, oh my God. So he gets in a bad tackle. But you know what? Who left this game? Was their coach. Why take off? Okay, Immobile, maybe because of an injury, take him off, but you put Lukaku in at 15 minutes to go. It's 2-1, by the way, when he takes Immobile off. He puts a defender in. He doesn't get Caicedo to maybe come on to stretch the defense, and all of a sudden, they're on their heels. Poor management by the coach.
There's blame to go around because Lulic, the captain of Lazio, gets himself sent off.
They have entertained us all season, though.
Okay, before we go, I just want to say to all the fans, the Inter fans and Lazio fans, fantastic.
Oh, terrific.
I mean, going into a game like that in the stadium, they did Italy proud. They did Serie A proud, in that from 2 contesting for big stakes, they were magic.
Yep, and congrats to Inter as well. Let's talk about one of your former coaches. Chelsea beat Manchester United in the FA Cup final. And following on from the results, Jose Mourinho has come under fire from some supporters. There are media reports as well that the dressing room is starting to turn on him. Gary, is he still the man to take Manchester United forward?
He is just. By the way, Newcastle didn't even get near a cup final. So I don't know what he's moaning about over there. But here's the thing. I think
They beat Chelsea, though.
I think it's now more on the fence than ever before. He needs to get new players in. The centre-backs are woeful. The full-backs can't compete. But what I'm disappointed in, besides the fact he's been a bit too negative, is he's thrown all of the players under the bus. He's had a go at Pogba all season. He's been ripping Luke Shaw apart. Even Rashford is at 20 years of age. He said to him 2 weeks ago when they lost, he said, you see, I have to play Lukaku. I've got no options. That doesn't win you the dressing room. And I think the players are feeling that he's been nasty to them. The fans are feeling there's too many excuses after all the money spent. So he needs to get some really good players in. He needs to start next season. Well, if he doesn't, then I think everyone will turn on him.
More money, more players again, Gary. What about the coaching side? Is he going to ever carry the can for poor coaching? I mean, his football would put a glass eye to sleep. I mean, everything through the season has been, it's beyond pragmatic. It's boring football. From any other club in football, I could accept it. For that crest that he wore so many times, this isn't good enough. The football quality is poor.
It's symptomatic. He goes after, we laugh about Man United, he goes, well, what did Newcastle do? This is the new standard.
Beat Chelsea.
Man United is looking at Newcastle.
But he says we beat Chelsea.
19 points behind City. FA Cup was, I mean, dreadful. They get Sevilla kicks their butt in the UCL. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a team that's unattractive, maybe one player.
All right, guys.
Hey,
give us a break. We finished second.
Lingard made a lot of progress, but you know what? Pogba went backwards, Lukaku went backwards, all the players went backwards. And you know what? That's poor on Mourinho. And Chelsea's second revisited, by the way.
To sum it up, De Gea won Player of the Year again for the second season. I hear what you're saying.
Jose Mourinho's attitude and his antics, they used to be endearing.
Yes.
His press conferences used to be entertaining. You couldn't wait to hear what he had to say after a game. Now you're like, we have to listen to what he has to say after the game. It really is bitter. He's sort of poisoned the air around his perceived success or perceived failure. And I haven't made a Paco Gemes reference in a long time. So I'm going to bring up a Paco Gemes quote. He said, the problem with making it all about winning, exclusively about winning, is that when you're not winning, you have absolutely nothing. And that's what Jose Mourinho currently has.
But at least he has a job, which Paco Gemes doesn't.
To pour the real acid on this is that down the road, literally down the road, is a team that is a glitter bomb of a footballing team.
Style and
that
substance.
has got to be even worse for Man United fans. I really feel for them, Gary, honestly.
But that's the standard. Jose has to spend the summer looking at City and saying, we have to play attractive.
Is he capable of that change, Gary? Is he capable?
I don't know, Ray. I actually don't know. And time will tell.
He doesn't care to. It's just not his style.
It's not his style.
It doesn't factor in whether we're entertaining or attractive football.
Great manager.
And players are coming out right now with Pogba. You know, why does Pogba come out and says, you know what, I don't have to like Mourinho, vice versa. The locker room is not healthy.
You still say right now that he's the man to take them forward, though?
Yes, but I think the first two months of the new season are going to tell me whether I'm still with him or not.
His third year is usually his worst.
Oh, so
serious? Put that on the scale.
You know what,
First he'll park the bus, then he'll throw you under it.
If I was a Glazer family, I would whack him, and I would Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger would be my new head coach.
Whack him.
You want to get Soprano over here? Come on, attract the football.
Hey!
Come on, Rob.
Hey, Mafia.
Trey, yay or nay? Stick around.
I would move on from him.
Okay.
They've got to stay with him. They have to stay with him.
Okay. Stick around with us here. You have to stay with us here on The Locker Room because it was a very special weekend this weekend. It wasn't just the last weekend of the current season. It was also the weekend that we said goodbye to a league of legends. And when we return, we have a very special What I Loved, paying tribute to all of them. Welcome back to the Locker Room Football Crazy podcast. Make sure you download it on your favourite podcast provider. It comes out every Monday with myself, Kevin Egan, and Des Norris, looking back on the weekend that was with all our properties and beyond here on beIN Sports. But we have a very special What I Love today because we waved goodbye to some club legends at the weekend on the final weekend of the season. And so here we are. Gary.
The greatest character in the history of football. Gianluca Buffon, Gigi Buffon, Absolutely. I mean, his attitude, his passion, his enthusiasm. To be that fit at 40 years of age, unbelievable. And the trophies he's won, World Cup, 9 league titles, well, 11. Dre, is it 11 or 9? Do we include the two now?
I'm not wading into that conversation. It's 7 in a row.
7 in a row, 3 European Champions League finals. Kay, what do you say about this
I'd say that it's Gianluigi, not Gianluca, but I'll let you off
sorry,
on that one.
Gianluigi. Yeah, quite right.
But
Gigi.
yeah, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Gigi, we know him as. Go on then, Ray.
This one for me isn't Iniesta, it's Xavi Prieto, an iconic man in his own right for Real Sociedad. Over 550 league games, a one-club man ever since he came up through the reserve system, won promotion with his reserves in his first season, so he was off to a great start. Scored a hat-trick memorably against your Real Madrid, Kay Murray, at the Santiago Bernabeu. A hat-trick, great player, wonderful, wonderful icon at Sociedad.
This man, Fernando Torres, Thomas.
What can you say? Classic number 9 that showed again in the last game with 2 goals what he can do. This guy will continue to play 321 appearances, 109 goals. Club youngest ever captain, by the way, Mr. Torres. Shows you his leadership and the way, as you can see here, he appreciates the fans and they appreciate him. Right? A brace in this game. Fernando Torres. You love Atletico, we love you.
Go on then, Andres.
Oh, what a ceremony this was. I am going to pick up on Andres Iniesta here, because Xavi Prieto, fine, he stayed with Real, obviously one of my favorite La Liga players of all time, but this felt like the end of an era for Barcelona with Andres Iniesta walking away. And there's nothing I can say with my words that'll be anywhere near as beautiful as the things that this man said with his feet and with that wonderful footballing brain. Andres Iniesta, a magician, an artist. I don't think they'll ever make another one like him.
No, they won't.
Beautiful striker. Look, I've got to say, it's wonderful that he played alongside other geniuses like Messi and Xavi, because it allowed him to bring out his ability. It brought him a little bit of space. But wonderful to watch him, and I hope we see many more come through the youth ranks at Barca.
I'm not sure, Ray, if you've run out of words for Andres Iniesta, because you've had some wonderful tributes to him of late, as have our viewers. Many of you got involved on social media with us and signed your signature, which has now been put specially on this shirt that we will be presenting to Andres Iniesta. It's also signed by all the beIN Sports anchors here and over on beIN Sports in Espanol. But if you did manage to participate and get your signature up on our Instagram stories, your name will be on that shirt that is given to Iniesta. So wonderful stuff there. We do thank you for joining us all season on The Locker Room. Don't forget, the Locker Room Awards are also coming up very soon, and you must get voting on those too. We'll see you next time.